3. No one except Carl knows that I know, and for now it will remain so. 4. Even an idiot like Carl was smarter than me when it came to women. I went back to Julian and told him everything I had heard from Carl. I was sad, but sadness gave way to anger. Yes, and I was also embarrassed. I wonder how many of them laughed at me behind my back. I had to make her and maybe a few others pay. Julian asked a few questions, then plugged in his headphones and started working on his laptop. I sat there drinking a bottle of red wine and getting angrier and angrier. Julian hung up and asked, "She never dated John Paul, did she?" "No, I haven't even seen him since we were in college." "Why do you ask?" He simply shook his head and reconnected. "Can you get about $30,000 in your hands?" "Yes, but why?" "I also need you to rent a BMW for 6 months if this all works out." He continued typing with a sly smile on his face. Finally, he said he had a plan. It was going to cost me at least $30,000 and the lease of the BMW. He told me to go to Anna's house tomorrow and do the best acting job of my life. I'll have to pretend everything is fine. I have to go back to Julian's on Thursday after work. Then John Paul will be here. The next day, I called Anna and said that I would be home that evening. I did my best to act normal. Every time she asked if something was wrong, I simply told her that I was worried about my father. Luckily, either I was a better actor than I give myself credit for, or, more likely, she just didn't pay much attention to me. On Thursday evening, I met Julian and John Paul at Julian's apartment. After pleasantries were exchanged, Julian outlined his plan. John Paul seduces Anna by posing as a New York investment banker. He must reluctantly reveal how rich he is, and then make her fall in love with him and his money. John Paul was in a play that was starting in about 5 months, so he had to get everything done in that time. John Paul was 2 years younger than Julian and an attractive guy. Long hair, a slim build, and a naturally attractive smile. She will definitely like him. "I have to ask you one thing, man," he said. "Do you mind if I sleep with her? I mean, she's your wife." I told him that I don't care and it can't be that they haven't had sex for 5 months. They'd rather sleep in 5 days. I gave them her bar schedule and told them it would be better if we met weekly. I didn't want to get caught, and not only did John Paul have to play his part, but I had to act like a devoted, ignorant husband. The week passed without any incidents or mistakes on my part. I tried to notice any changes in Anna. Yes, we had sex. Living with Anna, sex was just a normal part of our lives. The good news is that making love to Anna was not a slow romantic act. It was almost a physical competition. Of course, it brings satisfaction, but it is also tiring. On Thursday evening, we met at Julian's apartment. I was interested to hear the report. My overwhelming desire was to make her fall for John Paul, but a small part of me hoped that she wouldn't do it. John Paul has been to the bar 3 times. The first time, he just wanted her to notice him. The second time, light conversation and jokes. The third time, we met. She told me that tomorrow she works from 11 to 3. I'm going to come over at 2 o'clock for a late lunch and have coffee with her. I had to buy a $200 costume to play my role. The next week continued. Work, home. I couldn't help but wonder what was going on with Anna and John Paul. One day, I noticed that she was home late at night. I wonder what that meant. It was like waiting for the next episode of your favorite weekly TV show. I couldn't wait to hear the latest report on Thursday evening. Here's what John Paul said. They had coffee on Friday. Anna admitted that she was married, but hinted that there were problems and seemed approachable. She said she wasn't working on Tuesday and agreed to meet him for lunch. John Paul hinted that he was rich and slowly gave little clues. Life with Anna continued, but I began to notice a coolness emanating from her. Fine. On Tuesday, I returned home a little after 5 and Anna was not home. I went for a run, and when I came back, Anna was gone. While I was making salad for dinner, she came home. "Hello, honey. How was your day?" "This will be interesting," I thought. "Oh, yes, I worked late," she replied. I knew it didn't work, but it was good. "Were you busy?" She told some made-up story about her work. I felt how we were moving away from each other. The sex was still good. Looking back, sex for us was mostly physical, without much emotion, so it wasn't hard to fake it. I was going to make it easier for her. I told her that my father needed help, and I would have to leave on Friday afternoon. She made a half-hearted attempt to ask if she should go too. I told her it was okay. I was just going to help out a little and then stay the next week and see clients. On Thursday evening, I learned that John Paul had progressed. Tuesday lunch turned into a makeout session. He called her on Wednesday, after she found out I would be out of town, and they made plans for Friday evening. I felt like a puppeteer, pulling strings behind the scenes to make the puppet move in the direction I wanted. It worked. As the weeks passed, their relationship developed. The sex between Anna and John Paul happened the weekend I was at my parents' house. No surprise there. Our relationship at home was changing. She was moving away. It was a little bittersweet. From time to time, I saw flashes of the soulful woman I once loved, and it was sad. After about 3 months, John Paul began to swear his love to Anna and ask her to be with him. By this time, Anna believed that John Paul was a wealthy New York investment banker with an expensive Manhattan apartment. When he asked her about her husband, Anna said almost nothing. Unless the relationship is over and she's moving on, she just hasn't talked to her husband about it yet. A few weeks later, Anna told me that she and Sally were going to a spa in California for the weekend. And that was okay? I knew full well that John Paul had invited her to go to Sun Valley for the weekend. Of course, you'll probably like it, I told her. That night I was rewarded with great sex. I knew John Paul was going to propose at a resort in Idaho. The cubic zirconia engagement ring cost almost $500. They say cubic zirconia is almost indistinguishable from natural diamond. Moreover, believing that John Paul was rich, there was no reason to be suspicious. The following Thursday evening, I received a report about a romantic trip to Sun Valley. He proposed to her and she accepted. She told John Paul that she had to break up with her husband. He wanted to get married as soon as possible. He told her he had to return to New York in 2 months, which was true, and he needed her to be with him. That part wasn't true. Anna told John Paul that she would speak to her husband this week and inform him of the divorce. My plan was to fight her and act like I didn't want her to leave. The plan was to agree that I would keep all my assets in an immediate divorce. Everything worked flawlessly. When Anna told me she was leaving, I was shocked and saddened. And of course, I got angry. We're married. I won't let you leave. I won't let you get a divorce. I will require many months of consultations. We will figure this out, I declared. I really excelled at acting. When she met John Paul at the luxury condominium he was renting with my money, she said I wouldn't let her go that easily. Anna, my love, said John Paul, I have all the money we will ever need. I have an apartment in the city, and I'm looking for a beach house on Long Island. All I need to make my life perfect is you as my wife. You can imagine the dollar signs spinning in her brain. This is what we will offer your husband, he continued. I will ask my lawyer to draw up a document in which he will keep all his assets. In exchange, he will agree to an immediate divorce. She was all for it. When she returned home, I alternated between being angry with her and begging her to stay with me. I kept telling her that I would require several months of counseling before she left. I knew that she wanted to leave quickly to be with a millionaire. On Friday evening, she came home with a divorce document. This gave her an immediate divorce upon relinquishing any rights to my assets, our home, my car, and all of my investments. I gave the performance of my life. I screamed, whined, and told her that I would never let her go. Then I told her that I needed to be alone in the basement. While she thought I was sad and depressed, I was watching a baseball game. Finally, with my eyes full of tears, I had some Visine stashed away. I dutifully walked out with the signed document. She had the decency not to celebrate in front of me. As she left, I couldn't help but notice her triumphant gait. At this moment, it was mid-September. We were supposed to officially get divorced on October 5th. She gave up any rights to my assets and planned to move to New York, where they would be married by the end of October. We met that Thursday at Julian's, to plan the final act. This is how the plan was laid out. Anna will stay in the rented apartment for the next 2 weeks. On Friday, when they left, she would return to our house and pick up her clothes and furniture. John Paul told Anna that he would meet her at the house at noon with a truck. They would then take her things to a moving company and ship them to his home in New York. Of course, by the time Anna is waiting with her things, John Paul will already be gone. John Paul told her his last name was Taylor. It would be difficult for her to ever track him down. Yes, and quite expensive. She simply didn't have any money. "You are quite a cruel person," John Paul told me. "I don't agree," I said. "This is not nearly as cruel as she treated me." "I understand. I hope you don't mind me saying this, but I'm really going to miss this piece of ass. She was as good as it gets." "Yeah, I'll miss this too," I sighed. My communication with Anna was polite. I had to feign remorse several times. I didn't ask her to change her mind and stay with me. I was afraid that she might agree. That Friday I met her at home as she was packing her things. I almost thought about trying to sleep with her one last time, but I decided I'd had enough. She was dressed as if she was going to some special place. She thought that was true. By 12:30 p.m., she made her first phone call to John Paul. But the number was closed. She asked if she could use my phone. Same result. She called the luxury condominium, and they said it was paid for until Saturday and would be rented out again after that. She asked me if I could leave her things while she went back to the apartment and looked at what was taking John Paul so long. I didn't talk to her until the end of the weekend. It's time for phase 2 of the plan. I sent 3 packages with a collection of photos from a sex party they had while I was with my dad. In all the photographs, Trent, Sally, Carl, and Anna's faces, and bodies for that matter, were easily identifiable. Package 1 went to Carl's deeply religious boss. The photographs were accompanied by a note that said, "I believe that the moral character of a person is reflected in the quality of the work he performs. And you?" Package 2 went to Trent's ex-wife. The note attached to this photo said, "Look what your ex is doing. Thank God the children are with you." Package 3 went to Jackie. The note said, "I think you and I missed the funniest part of the party. Sorry to break this news to you, but you deserve to know." And he added, "As soon as everything calms down, would you like to drink something?" I signed all the notes with my name and phone number. I had one more unfinished business, and that was McAllister. Maybe I'll ask Julian to come up with something for him too. Of course, Anna tried to revive our relationship. Not a single chance of that happening. She showed up the following Monday evening as if she had just returned home from work. "Hello, honey. Sorry for our little misunderstanding. I'm home forever." I just stared at her. "Anna, you ruined my life," I shouted. "This is not your home. You are running away with someone to New York." "No, I changed my mind. I want to stay with you. No more games." "Forget about it. Get the hell out of here and never come back," I said coldly. At this point, she resorted to her old tricks, already taking off her top and unclasping her bra. I've fallen for this tactic too many times to give up now. Closing the door in her face, I said, "Say hi to John Paul for me." I looked out the window. She stood with a blank expression on her face, her beautiful breasts exposed for everyone to see, her brow furrowed as she tried to piece together the meaning of my John Paul reference. In all our discussions, his name was always kept secret. Of course, Henry Anderson was leaning over the fence and looking at her. Last I heard, she was living with Sally. I'm sure she's already looking. Carl not only didn't get the promotion, I heard he was fired. He left town, leaving Sally behind. Trent was a completely different matter. When he went to a custody hearing, he was soundly and firmly denied. And in fact, the court increased his child support and limited his visitation rights. Obviously, photographs played a big role in this decision. One Saturday night, Jackie called me frantically and told me that Trent was coming to my house. He was drunk and had a gun. Apparently, he found where the messages were coming from. I quickly made my way to the backyard, grabbed some blankets and pillows, and created a body under the blankets as if I was reading outside in a lawn chair. I left a small light on to get his attention. I was armed with a baseball bat and hid in the thick bushes. Even if Jackie hadn't called, I would have heard him coming. He knocked on the front door, and when I didn't answer, he walked through the gate into the backyard. He immediately noticed the chaise lounge set up. He snuck up and shot twice into the blankets. The first blow must have broken his arm. First, I wanted to neutralize the weapon. The next two were across his crotch. I also wanted to neutralize this particular weapon. Then I called the police. No special investigation was required regarding the weapon, and the shots fired. I defended myself, and Trent was charged with attempted murder. I called and thanked Jackie for the warning. "You're welcome," she said. "Now, did you offer me something to drink?" Subscribe to our channel so that your second chaff doesn't cheat on you, and go ahead and listen to the next story, because this story is nothing compared to the next one. If you're under 18, don't even think about listening to the next one.